Guys, we got one last topic today before we dive into Super Chats. It's brought to us by Prize Picks. We make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds, and you can play from anywhere. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first 5. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, guys, let's talk a little Cavs here. We were going to do this yesterday, then we got news of the players-only meeting, so we're going to flip back to some quotes here. It's 384, Steve, to start, but ESPN wrote an article on the biggest X factors in the Eastern Conference heading into the final 75% of the season. What's going on out there?
They called him a bunch of thugs.
These guys are rambling.
He
didn't call them a bunch of thugs. What are you talking about?
He meant slugs, but he called them thugs.
That was what's his
That
name?
was John Beeline. That was not
Every
Kenny
time I hear
Atkinson.
him,
Don't put that on Kenny. Kenny did nothing of the sort. You know how people clip
Can't
stuff.
believe they hired John Beeline to be the head coach.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
That was wild.
Just a disaster.
He was desperate.
I mean, real quick, Dan Gilbert's done some crazy stuff with hiring coaches.
Yes.
Is it worse than Jimmy?
David Blatt?
Yes.
Championship owner, baby.
Dan is worse than Jimmy at hiring?
He hired Mike Brown, then fired him, and then hired him again, bro.
Yeah, but at least he's
Like,
at least he's hired some good people.
Divorced, remarried.
Yeah, I mean,
who's Jimmy? Jimmy's been here over a decade and hired anybody good.
He did do that.
I mean, Dan was crazy. I mean, he got Blatt.
The David Blatt was one of the dumbest hirings of all time.
I mean, he did a
And
lot.
it pains me to say. I mean, David Blatt's in the
hired
tribe, but
Mike Brown,
he
fired
can't
him,
coach
hired him
in the
again.
NBA.
He did, bro. But listen, he got a championship. His biggest saving grace is the fact that he made up with LeBron James.
Yeah.
And
won the championship.
By the way, I got a big beef with Jim Schwartz. Because
Jim Schwartz?
What?
yeah, because he should if his last name is Schwartz, he's supposed to be in the tribe. Somewhere along the way, he was in the tribe, and he's disengaged from the tribe. So I'm a little ticked off about
you believe
that.
there's 12 tribes.
Wait a minute.
He's
There are
not
12
Jewish?
Wait a minute.
There's 12 tribes.
We didn't ramsack it. What's the question, Mike? I
Go
don't
ahead,
know what the
Mike.
question
So
is.
ESPN wrote an article on the biggest X factors in each conference for the next 60 games as we get to the playoffs. They listed Evan Mobley as the number 1 X factor in the entire Eastern Conference. They interviewed a bunch of GMs, assistant coaches, assistant GMs, and got some quotes on each. I want to read 3 quotes from this article from people around the NBA about Evan Mobley. I want you guys
Please refer to him by his proper nickname, the Pillow.
I want you guys to tell me which one you think is the most appropriate for one Evan Mobley and whether or not he is the biggest X factor in the East. This is the first quote. It comes from a Western Conference assistant GM. Defensively, he might be the best in the league. There hasn't been an elite big who didn't have a guard to get him the ball in order to be dominant. He doesn't have to be Tim Duncan. Why can't he be what Pau Gasol was?
That's cap.
The next quote comes from a Western Conference GM. He has the skill set and IQ. Can he assert himself, and can the team consciously feature him more? So much of this is on the team to force him to be more aggressive.
A lot of cans right there.
Jeez.
And the third and last one comes from an NBA assistant coach. He's a good piece, just not dominant. I'm not sure he has it. He's not nasty. He's skilled, but not with the elite skills. Evan and that entire team is on the skilled side, not nasty.
Okay.
That's a fact.
Here's the thing.
Whoever said that,
Here's the thing. This goes to the whole thing I was arguing about analytics versus feel again. And as anybody that knows me, I've always been a huge analytics guy.
Yes.
But the GMs in the NBA now, like in some in the NFL and definitely baseball, are basically a bunch of nerds again.
Yes.
And so they look at they look at Evan Mobley through the nerd calculator,
I agree.
which is what Jason and Mike were doing also, and they're like, this guy's got it all. The fact that the GM said, give me that second quote again, Mike. The second one.
Can he insert himself, and can the team?
A lot of cans.
Well, they tried to do that at the beginning of the season. It didn't work.
I guarantee you that this GM never played high-level sports. Forget high-level sports. This guy never even played in high school.
Probably not.
I don't know which Western Conference GM it is, so I have no idea.
Right. But I guarantee you, because nobody that played, even in high school, you can't force a guy
No.
to be to a certain. You either have it or you don't. Now it can grow, right?
They tried to force
You can't force somebody to be
They
a dog.
tried to force it. It was a disaster.
Exactly.
You can't, bro.
He's not a dog.
Either you got
That's
it,
that.
or you got it or you don't, bro.
And that's why the coach gets it right, because the coach is not one of these analytics nerds. He's a ball player, probably.
When you watch him play, bro, like they mentioned Pau Gasol. Evan Mobley's game offensively
Pau Gasol
will never be Pau Gasol.
Wow.
Pau Gasol, Hall of Famer, dude.
You know what Pau Gasol was able to do? The skilled level? What are you talking about? He was the first-year-old big that was moving on. Listen, this game is never going. Listen, Evan Mobley is the new version offensively of Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
I just know that.
Look, hey, McNugget's like, dang, that's kind of crazy. It kind of sounds like that. By the way, if Evan Mobley don't have prime Rasheed Wallace skill set offensively.
Dang.
I disagree with that.
Prime Rasheed Wallace on the block will give you
Rasheed Wallace is a dog.
I'ma
on
tell
the
you
block.
right now,
You give him
Rasheed Wallace will talk him out of the game for sure.
Rasheed Wallace and the Jailblazers. Rasheed Wallace on that post wearing the high Air Force
with the high forces on.
Man,
Evan Mobley could not have played in the NBA in the 80s and 90s. No chance.
no.
He would get his ass handed to him.
Can I see that first quote again? Because
I'm sure everybody's going to say I'm crazy for that.
Bull is killing basketball
Are
topics
you
today.
kidding me?
Am I missing something? Let me see that.
Are you kidding me? How about Evan Mobley trying to do his nonsense against Charles Oakley? He would knock him on his ass every time.
Is that first sentence correct?
No.
Because
That's outrageous.
Wemby's the best.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Wemby
what is he
living.
talking about?
Wemby lives. He is here.
What is, this
He
is,
has
I'm sorry,
vital
Mike.
signs.
I know you know more basketball. You're much more well-versed than I am in basketball. I'm not denying that. I don't care what anybody says. Evan Mobley is not a difference maker on defense. We all know it when you say it.
No. That's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
I stand by
That's
it.
objectively the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Let me tell you something. The NFL, the dumbest thing in the NFL is the rule about what a catch is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anybody that played football, even me,
Yes.
who just played with my friends at the park,
so Isaiah Likely.
you know what a catch is.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
You know a catch,
Yeah,
right,
that's-
guys?
that's a
We
touchdown.
know what a catch is.
Yeah.
You just know it. You can't define it. You can't say 2 steps, 3 steps. It's stupid. You know a catch, and it's the same thing here. You know an elite defender when you see it. He's a soft ass.
He's an elite defensive player. You may not see it
Nonsense.
because you have no idea what you're looking at, and that's okay.
Mike-
It's okay to admit you don't know what you're looking at,
Mike,
Bo. But to say he's not
nobody takes
impactful
him-
defensively is the most ludicrous statement. It may actually go into the category of the 10 dumbest takes we've ever had on the show,
Mike.
which we went through earlier. Say he's
You're
not
wrong.
impactful defensively.
How? Give me.
Bull.
Because you
That
give
is
me
just
all these nerdy
objectively
numbers
the
to back it
dumbest
up.
thing I
Get your
said.
mans. Get your
Or you've
mans.
said.
Get your mans.
No, I'm gonna kind of play down the middle here a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I do agree with most of what you say,
Yeah.
and I don't claim to be some NBA expert. I mean, I watch a lot of NBA, but not like Mikey. He's impactful on defense.
Yeah.
He is, but it doesn't feel like he is.
Right. Like you
maybe that's
want.
And so that's
Maybe
what
that's
it
the
is,
answer,
because
yeah.
he's not the most physical, imposing
Yeah.
dude on the court. He's not Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah.
He's not Charles Oakley.
Dennis Rodman.
He doesn't have that presence, even though he's long, he's fluid, he's an athlete, and he does a lot of things. That's all. That's what I'll
What?
agree.
Here's
It just
why.
Doesn't
Yeah.
feel that
Here's why.
Yeah.
So Evan Mobley can switch pretty much 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give anything up. He contests
Yeah.
pretty much one of the best shot contesters on
Yeah.
jumpers. He does a pretty good job of blocking shots and does not foul people. He also, the only problem I have is I understand that he is a great in space defender. He's great help side. He does a lot of those things, right? My problem is I would like to see him rebound the basketball at a higher rate than he does. I think he should be averaging with his skill.
That's part of defense, Mike.
About 12 rebounds. And I think, Mikey, that's the part Mike
wouldn't you say, if Evan Mobley had to play against only the top big men all year long, would he still be a top defender?
Yeah. Well, he's top 5 in blocks right now. So you say he's not in fact. He's literally 5th in the NBA in total.
That has
blocks.
nothing to do with specifically against the top guys.
He's going to tell you.
I'm giving you numbers.
Yeah.
He averages a steal a game, which gives him 2.7 stocks, which is one of my favorite. It's simple. It's blocks and steals combined.
Yeah.
It's 5th in the league. He has an A+ on B-ball index in terms of rim deterrent, which is guys get in the paint, decide not to shoot because Evan Mobley's there. It's actually the biggest thing that Wemby does. Wemby averages 4 blocks a game. He could average 12 if people even attempted shots against Wemby.
How would you even know that? How would you know that
I'm going to make it up
reason?
to number 12, but they have metrics where they can track of guys going in, seeing a person in the paint, and turning back. Gee, everything you said is correct. The one thing holding Evan Mobley back from being more impactful is the best way to phrase it. He's an average defensive rebounder. That part is totally true. Totally true. But to go into what he does and doesn't do, first off, he won DPOY last year. He shouldn't have if Wemby's healthy.
Yeah.
He'll never win one if Wemby's healthy. The fact that he did win one when Wemby was out talks about how everyone else around the league views Evan Mobley. And, Bo, you are the first to admit you don't even watch a ton of basketball.
Yeah, but
So to say he's not impactful because of something that you don't watch on a night-to-night basis is just ludicrous.
Because
ludicrous.
when he plays against the other big guys, the great big guys in the league, he's a non-factor, Mike.
Let me just tell you this.
In terms of what?
In terms of everything. He dominates against the lousy players.
So he holds Giannis to 31 points, and he averages 34 against everyone else? Like,
watch this.
you're only stopping so much.
He holds Giannis? Really?
Watch this.
I mean, it's less than his season average, so yeah.
Wait, how many times did they play the Bucks?
This year or last year?
You're saying in his career he scores
If
3
you give me
less,
1 second.
and you're going to give Mobley credit for that?
If you hold someone below their season average, it means you're doing nobody stops anyone in the NBA. Like, holding Jokic
and
is
maybe
holding
maybe that's ultimately the issue, is that the best defensive players don't look like what they used to.
and that's fair.
So maybe that's
fair.
why I feel that way. I think Dustin made a good point.
Yeah.
He doesn't I'm used to the great defenders of the 80s and 90s played a certain way with a certain physicality that Mobley doesn't match up to.
But here's
and that could be true, but it's a different era.
It's a different. Here's what I'm gonna say. Here's how
go
you
ahead.
know. Here's how you know Mobley does have impact defensively. Say for instance, we'd be saying trade Mobley and get this. If you traded Mobley to, like, I don't know, you put him with another big. Say for instance, Mobley with Chet Holmgren, or Mobley with Giannis, or Mobley in even guys like Kevin Durant. Mobley with the Rockets.
Denver.
Mobley with Denver. You couldn't win. Because if you had Mobley, he would be he'd be so dominant based on the skill sets that he provides on switching and picking rolls, contesting shots, being able to deter people at the rim, that you would never win, ever. But here's the problem. The thing about Mobley is not the fact that Mobley is nasty work. The problem is Mobley is not the issue. The issue are the other pieces. Like, it's we've built Jared Allen as something that's supposed to be a core. No, he's a
just
role
a
player.
guy.
Darius Garland is another core guy, but he's hurt, and we see what the diminishing returns is because of his injuries. So now we've placed so much energy on Mobley because we need him to be the next evolutionary step of Kevin Garnett, that it ain't going to happen like that.
Let me ask you a question, Bo, real quick.
Yeah.
And I think this is the best way to contextualize Mobley's impact on defense.
Yeah.
Cavs finished 9th overall in terms of total defense last season, a top 10 defense in the NBA.
Well, based on, like, how did you get that stat? Is that points allowed?
Defensive rating, points allowed per 100 possessions.
Okay.
Is Darius Garland a good defender?
No.
Is Donovan Mitchell a good defender?
Not really.
Is Max Strus a good defender?
No.
He plays hard.
Arguably and DeAndre Hunter, by the way, not a good defender.
Hey, by the way,
what
what happened in Hunter's game defensively?
Just let me finish.
What happened to him, period?
They have a top 10 defense in basketball.
Yeah.
Despite having absolutely none, zero, zilch point of attack defense on the perimeter to keep guys out of the paint. How do you do that? How do you accomplish that? Is you have a back line and someone like Evan who can get into these switch situations and corral guys, keep them in front of them. But if you have a whirlwind, or the windmill back there, who's not a paint protector, who can't actually protect the rim, and you got guys on the perimeter just going, ole, get to the paint, you have a bottom 3 defense in
Where are they
basketball.
this year?
They're actually still top 10, which makes no sense. I don't
At
understand
all.
any of it. Their metrics this year are good, but the eye test and the metrics don't match up at all.
The
At
eye
all,
test
one
is
bit.
nasty. That's crazy. Hunter is not a good defender.
They'll be lucky.
DeAndre
to make
Hunter's
it-
not a
They'll
good
be
defender.
lucky to make
Objectively,
it to
he's
the
not a
Eastern
good
Conference
defender right
Finals
now.
where they'll lose.
And I thought before he
think they're
got
gonna
here,
get
he
to
was
the Eastern
I thought that was
Conference
what
Finals? I said they'll be lucky.
what was his claim to fame.
Coming out of college,
Virginia.
he won defensive player in the country or defensive player of the ACC coming out. He just plays no defense anymore, like none.
So he's not. That's just effort.
A lot of it. Yeah, the Cavs are actually 8th in defense this year. They were 9th last year. It makes no sense. The eye test and the metrics don't match
Yeah.
up whatsoever.
All right, let's get to super chats.
All right, that was fun. That was fun.
You know who
Super
I
chats.
think they miss, and I'm just say this, they make smash shoes.